Calling to order the meeting for December 12th of the Oakdale Joint Unified School Board of Trustees. And we, as I said earlier, we're going to move closed session, anything about it, to after the meeting. So we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And we're going to have one of our newest board members' daughter, London, lead us in the pledge. So would everyone stand while she leads us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be swearing in the new and re-elected board member. So, do we want to step over here? Okay, so we're going to step over there. Bill, I'm going to take you first.
You're doing us all together, right? Or no?
I can, if it's, I can just do all three names. We've done that in the past.
Whatever you guys want.
So are you guys okay with that? Sorry, I'm going backwards here. Okay. Then you don't have to hear me read the exact same thing three times. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so I need all three of you to raise your right hands, please. Okay, so I'm going to say I, and then you each will state your name to me. Okay? So I
Diane Gilbert.
Bill DeMol. Clayton Skimper.
do solemnly swear or affirm
Do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will end and faithfully discharge
that I will end and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter
the duties upon which I am about to enter
as a member of the governing board
as a member of the governing board
of the Oakdale Joint Unified School District,
of the Oakdale Joint Unified School District,
subscribed and sworn to before
subscribed and sworn to be before
me this 12th day of December 2022.
me before this 12th day of December 2022.
Sorry, I tried to make it not confusing because
We're
my
good.
memory's terrible too, so I'm sorry. So we are done. You're officially sworn in. Okay. I missed it. So now we have item 12.2, which is the elections, our board elections. So
I nominate Board Member Shatswell to be our next board president.
I second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Okay. And then I would like to nominate Board Member Schemper to be clerk.
I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So do we need, we don't need a roll call or anything for that? Okay.
Do we need to do that when we never know what it is?
I know, that's what I was just wondering, the whole roll call thing, but I guess we don't. So the next thing we have is our action to authorize signatures in accordance with Education Code Section 42633 for filing with the Stanislaus County Office of Education as follows. To file board member signatures in accordance with Education Code Section 42633 and to approve effective December 12th, 2022. for orders and warrants in the name of the governing board in accordance with Education Code 42632. The signatures of Superintendent Dave Klein, Deputy Superintendent Larry Mendonça, Assistant Superintendent Gillian Wegner, Assistant Superintendent Craig Redmond, Chief Business Officer Cassandra Booth, Director of State and Federal Programs Armida Colon, Director of Special Education Tracy Jakubowski, and to approve Superintendent Dave Klein's signature as authorized agent of the district. So, Dr. Klein.
Okay. Essentially, President Shatswell, there's no further information to give.
Okay.
I'll turn it back to you for if there's questions from the board or if there's been any submission of questions beyond that.
Okay, do I have any questions?
No.
Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
We just
All right.
need you to determine the trustee representative of the governing board. It's on the signature page.
Oh, it's on the
yeah,
back,
yeah.
the other page, that's right.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. I knew that there was something.
Yeah, that's the one Diane was referring to.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, so that, it's not a huge responsibility, it's not a lot at all, so I would like to nominate Bill to be. But. Yes, so I'm gonna need a second.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. I knew there was something.
Sorry about that.
All right, so we'll do those signatures after. All right, so now we have another action item, but that will go at the very end of the meeting. So we're going to, I need approval of order of agenda for items for this meeting. I need a motion.
A motion. A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so this is the exciting part of this meeting. Announcements. So it's recognition of our cross-country team. Dr. Klein.
Thank you, President Shatswell. The OHS varsity boys cross-country team earned their second consecutive blue banner for cross-country in the San Joaquin Section Division III competition and have added a state championship to their list of accomplishments. It was a season where the team came in with 3 goals: win the Valley Oak League, win the section, and win the state. They were able to check all 3 off the list, completed the 3-pronged goal with a team victory at the California State Meet at Woodward Park in Fresno on Saturday, November 26. Oakdale had 3 of its runners finish in the top 10, paced by the second place overall showing of senior Dax Daly. Close behind were junior Omar Osedi, 5th overall, and senior Caleb Cavanaugh, who was 7th overall. All 3 averaged under a 5-minute mile on the course and anchored the Division III state championship efforts. The Mustang entered 7 runners in the championship 5,000-meter race. However, per California state cross-country rules, only the times of the top 5 finishers for a team count. Mustang runners finished 2nd, 5th, 7th, 16th, and 55th to set an all-time Division III record score of 56 points in a sport in which the lowest total score wins. The Mustang score outpaced the second-place team by 53 points as the Mustangs stormed to the California State Championship, thereby achieving Coach Fowler's 3rd and most ambitious goal. Oakdale's first California state cross-country title. Not only was the first state championship by an Oakdale cross-country team, but it was the first state cross-country championship by any high school in either Stanislaus or San Joaquin counties. The boys made history by having the second fast Division III time in the history of the California State Meet. Another history-making opportunity occurred when the team traveled to Huntsville, Alabama on December 3 to race in the Garmin Running Lane Cross Country Championships and finished 2nd in the division. Prior to the boys' Division III race, Cassidy Fermura running as an individual after finishing second in the Sac Joaquin section's master race on November 12, completed the 5,000 meter girls Division III event in 19 minutes, 12.8 seconds. A personal record to finish 39th out of 212 young women in that event, which completed her session that saw her win the VOL and Sac Joaquin subsection meets in addition to her second place in the Masters meet. President Shatswell, members of the board, I'd now like to have the members of the boys cross-country team and the representative of the female team as well. Do we have, and I think we have certificates for them as well.
And then do you want to let them know to come up?
So, ladies and gentlemen, when you hear your name, you'll get your certificate, and then make sure and come right across the front here and wait until the entire team is here, and so that way folks can get pictures of you, okay? All right. So, first name, Dax Daly. Omar Osadi. Caleb Kavanaugh. Jacob Kavanaugh. Jackson Oliveira. Mason Oliveira. Abner Gonzalez. Gabe Archuleta. Carlos Martinez. Alejandro Felix. Cassidy Fermura. And then Coach Vic Moreno. Head Coach Guy Fowler. President Shatswell, members of the board, those in our board meeting tonight, I present to you the OHS State Championship Cross Country Boys Team and our female state representative, along with the coaches, head coach Mr. Fowler and and coach Vic Moreno. Ladies and gentlemen.
Would Coach Moreno or Coach Fowler like to say anything about your team?
You love this.
And we love that they have their awards with them. I don't know that we've ever seen that before.
And they're all here.
Well,
I know.
they like to show off. In addition to everything that Dr. Klein mentioned, I want to highlight a few other things about this team that's pretty special. One that the board and the team aware of. Yes, not only did we win the state championship, sure was. Okay. But when you think about the fact that not only was this their first state championship, the prior year they placed fourth in the state, but prior to that, in the history of our school, we've never qualified a team for the state team. We never qualified one individual for the state team. And then all of a sudden, we have a state championship team. That is almost unheard of. Okay? And you might ask yourself, where did this change? Where did this come from? And about 5 years ago, we started asking a lot more of our athletes, asking them to put in more miles, put in more time, do everything right. And as a coach, you can ask and ask all you want, but you're never going to have success until you have buy-in from your athletes. So I want to recognize for those athletes who initially bought in to all the extra stuff that we started asking them to do. And those are two of our seniors, Dax Daly and Caleb Kavanaugh. They're the ones who initially bought in. They're the ones who fell in love with the sport and became dedicated. And without their dedication, the ones that followed behind them, the rest of the boys you see up here, probably wouldn't have followed in their footsteps. So I owe a huge debt of gratitude to those two who really stepped up and gave everything they had to make this championship possible. There is another side story, and I've told this before, and it just bears repeating. We came into this season, this summer, knowing that we had a special team. We went into this season knowing that we would be the odds-on heavy favorite to win the state title. All that changed in the middle of the summer when one of our runners, it just sucks, it happened. On a training run while on vacation, he got injured. He was really bad. He ran over by a bus. And that was Mason Oliveira. He's up here, he's fine. The very fact that he's alive is incredible. But he, along with his brother Jackson, were two critical members of our team. And had we had Mason at full health and full strength, without a doubt, we would have dominated the state meet. We would have been probably top 10 nationally. It just goes to show how special of a group we are. That's all.
I will say this, last week, toward the end of the week, DISTAT came out with the national rankings of all high school boys team in the country. This boys team finished 29th. Wow. I also want to point to this young lady right here next to me. Okay, she is committed to going to Stanislaus State next year. Stanislaus State women's team won the Western NCAA Division II championships with two of our former alumni. So she's going to be joining them. So we're making a powerhouse at Stan State. And we're excited that she's staying close home so we can see her run. The last thing I want to say is all these young individuals up here, they're family. They do everything together. Sometimes we have to reel them back in, but let me tell you, they love each and every one of each other, and I'm so proud to be part of this team. Thank you.
Congratulations to all of you. You're more than welcome to stay throughout the board meeting. If you
Not happening. I got dinner.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Hey.
Good job, guys.
Well done.
Coach Moreno and Coach Fowler, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, kids.
Yes.
Thank you for having us. You guys, thank you very much.
Oh, so proud of them. All of you.
There too.
You bet. That was a kick.
Congratulations.
Hey, guys. Congratulations.
Yes, if anybody standing in the back wants to have a seat,
missed
feel
it.
free. And then again, just one more time, if you think you have a comment or question, fill out a little slip of paper and hand it to Mr. Redmond for me. So moving on, we have our report, or organization reports. So first, we have representative for OTA, Mr. Salinas.
Good evening, welcome, congratulations and welcome to the new board members and returning board member. Busy time of year, so I'm gonna keep this real short. Negotiations still ongoing, so our negotiators are itching to get back into the negotiations room with Mr. Redmond and his team. As far as highlights, I'd like to point out a few positives. Sixth graders have been participating in like a turkey pageant where this was at the end of November, obviously, where they were creating turkeys through arts and crafts and demonstrating and presenting them to the student body. We have other sites that have students deep into the working of creating newsletters and just communicating with their fellow students. So a lot of those positives. We have spelling bee champions in the eighth grade, I believe, and then we have some basketball championships at the junior high eighth grade girls, along with what you just saw, our awesome cross-country runners here at Oakdale High School. So wanted to keep that short and welcome you guys, and thank you for your time. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty, next we have Representative for CSEA, Chapter 830, Mr. Cox.
Hi, I'm Jake Cox. If you haven't met me, congratulations to the new ones and returning. And we look forward to hopefully having you guys help us fix our salary schedule, getting into minimum wage. Look forward to working with you guys, and feel free to reach out to me anytime, and congratulations.
Thank you. All right, so now we have our student board representative, Jessica.
Hi guys. So Oakdale High School has been doing some pretty exciting things lately. Trying to cover the past few months, so I'll try to make it quick. The fall sports came to a close, and they all went pretty far, as we can see from our cross-country champions. Winter sports are now in full swing. The drama club recently had a Lion King performance, as well as other choir performances that were very successful productions. December 3rd, we had a formal, and that was very good dance. Leadership's recently put on Holiday Week to spread holiday cheer, and that includes dressing up and getting hot chocolate, as well as other activities to raise awareness. Meals were donated for families in need around Thanksgiving time, and recently we had a toy drive for kids for Christmas. Finals are closing out the fall 2022 semester, which is definitely one for the books. We're glad to be back in action and look forward to closing out the year next year. Thank you, guys.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so now we're moving on to public comments. So public comments will be allowed. The board president will recognize any member of the audience wishing to speak on items not on the agenda, but directly related to school business. The president may allot time to those wishing to speak, but no action will be taken on matters presented. Individuals with public comments will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, with a total of 30 minutes designated for this portion of the agenda. Individuals with questions on the school district issues may submit them in writing. The board will automatically refer requests to the superintendent. If appropriate, the president or any member of the board may direct that a matter be referred to the superintendent's office for placement on a future agenda. Do I have any public comments this evening?
No forms submitted.
No forms? Mr. Kilgore, you're the only one? You were, hop up. So for going forward, and there were a lot of people in here, but going forward, we're going to be doing the white slips, because I know you'll probably be at the meetings. So that way, everything just kind of moves right along, but we have one individual, so we're going to go ahead and let him speak.
Madam President, thank you very much. Congratulations, new board members, returning member. My name is Eric Helgard. I actually wanted to speak on that item, just asking the question, hoping to get some better direction, because as a member of the public sitting out here, sometimes you don't know that you want to say something until you hear a report or you hear what staff has to say, because I might want to put slips in for 4 or 5 different items that I'm interested in or curious about, but then I'd be saying, I'm okay after hearing all these reports, which is maybe what you would desire.
Right.
But without that, I just want to say, going forward, I know that the board has allowed some members of the public to go ahead and ask questions on matters that come up on the agenda who haven't submitted, that there's been some leeway. So I'm just looking for direction going forward with the new board. So if you could address that. And then I also just wanted to, again, commend the cross-country team Many of us who've had students throughout the district, there is so much time that the athletes, the academic teams, the band, the drama, the student government put in to everything they're doing apart from these wonderful events. I just happen to be a member of the public driving by, and it's 100 degrees outside and it's 105 degrees outside, and I'm seeing the cross-country runners still running around town. That would never be me, but that hard work pays off. So I love the appreciation you've shown and the honor you've given the hard work. And it's just a reminder for all of us and to the parents who oftentimes at a very young age start driving their kids to rodeo, to practice, to all of these things that count up to countless hundreds of hours over the years in order to get to high school. So I just want to thank all the parents and the students, because there's so much time and energy that goes into creating these quality students that we have here in Oakdale. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them.
Thank you. And to answer your question, so that is what we're going to try to do, because I know in the past we've had several meetings that have just gone on, and then we've had, talking or even yelling from the audience. So we're really going to stay focused. And so normally when we have, at least prior to public comment, we have the reports. If somebody gives a public comment, I will direct it wherever I feel it needs to be directed. And then if you, as an audience member or anyone in the public, feels that you might have a question about that later, you could follow up with whoever I direct that to, or even follow up with the individual. We'll try to, see if we can put that together. But it just makes things go so much more fluidly if we just kind of keep it going. And then, like I said, if you even think you have a question on an agenda item or a comment, even if later you think, I don't want to, I'll call it out, Debbie, it was answered, I don't need to do that. That way we just know it's set and we can just kind of keep on going through it. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I don't think we have any other public comments. So moving on to consent calendar. Do I have any board members who want to remove an item from consent calendar?
No.
No? Okay, so I'll just read this real quickly, but removal of items from consent calendar. Information concerning consent items has been forwarded to each board member prior to this meeting for study. Unless a board member or member of the audience has a question about a particular item and asks that it be withdrawn from the consent list, the item will be approved at one time by the Board of Trustees. The action taken in approving consent items is set forth in explanation of the individual items. So do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I vote to approve the calendar.
Okay.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay, so moving on. We have no reports this evening. And so our action item 5.4 is the approval of our first interim financial report. Sandra.
So I'm lucky today to be able to present our first interim budget report. First up, we're going to talk about sort of where this falls within our budget cycle. We'll hit a little bit about revenue, the details in it regarding our local control funding formula, expenditures, summary, and then from there we'll go into a multi-year projection. We'll talk about things that will impact that multi-year projection, all of our funds, and next steps. On the list here, it does show you page numbers. That's related to the actual report that has been included in your board packet as well as posted on the district's website. So if you want more details, they are there. So today, first interim on the green square. What it includes is state enacted budget for our revenue. It also includes all expenditures that we know of as of October 31st. The biggest thing though that first interim does is that it includes our prior year carryover.
Unaudited actuals are done in September. The board approves those, and then after unaudited actuals, we gather all the grants that didn't get fully expended but can still be in the following year. We take that difference and then we post them in the current year budget so that we can expend those. So the biggest changes today are all related to adding that prior year carryover into our current year budget. Those are the biggest changes that have occurred. 76.5 million in overall revenue. That is 16.9 million that are part of restricted grants, and of that 5.2 million are part of one-time funds. Majority of our funds does come through the local control funding formula at 76.8% of our first interim budget. Because such a large amount comes through that local control funding formula, I really want to kind of break it down for you tonight. The local control funding formula is primarily based off of our average daily attendance. There are three key ways it could be funded, either on current year ADA, prior year ADA, or in 22-23, what's been allowed is a 3-year rolling average ADA. That's the first time that that has been allowed. In the past, it's always been either current year or prior year, and that's it. But because of COVID, they've given us this sort of leeway to not feel such a big hit of our attendance from the last couple of years. Another part of that, of course, is our cost of living adjustment, which is not applied to the entire formula. And then, of course, student demographics plays a huge part of how districts are funded through the local control funding formula. So when we look at the little bit more details on the ADA part of it, in 18-19, our enrollment was 5332, but our attendance that year, our average daily attendance, was 5,046. 19-20, it was 5102. The red there, that was the average daily attendance as of P2, which is as of April 15th. And then from there, in 2021, we were held harmless, which means we did not actually collect attendance that year, but we were funded on the prior year on 19-20, 5102. For 21-22, we were funded on the higher of current year or prior year. Our prior year was still higher at 5102 than our current year attendance of 4745. You can see that there. So for 22-23, we are funded off of that, or estimated to be funded off of the 3-year rolling average. That 3 years is the P2 ADA from 21-22 of 4745, the 5102 from 2021, and the 5102 for 19-20. So it's now then that 3 years to kind of help stabilize our funding for the next couple of years, as we've seen a big drop in our enrollment as well as in our attendance these last few years. So it's helping to stabilize us on that. So
does that end at the end of, does it, with the 22-23?
Doesn't end. 3
Okay.
years now in there as a calculation, so you'll be funded on the higher of.
Okay.
So at some point, we hope that our current year attendance becomes higher than the 3-year average as we move away from those COVID eras of kind of bad attendance. Kids were getting sick, we were all getting sick. So as things improve, we should then be able to get into a current year higher ADA than that 3-year rolling average. But at least we don't feel that significant drop that we had in 21-22 between those 2 years. We're not feeling it this year because it's that 3-year, kind of smooths things out a little bit in terms of funding. But more than likely, eventually, we'll get back to being funded on our current year ADA. But if not, then at least we have that little buffer before hitting just our prior year. So a little stable grace there. So as part of that formula, we receive a base grant. That is where all students in the entire state of California receives the same amount per student. Every school district receives the same amount per student on their funded average ADA, same amount. Then we also have grade span adjustment. That's to help fund the lower class sizes in TK3 as well as in CTE programs at the 9-12. So we receive a little bit more for students in those grades. We also receive a supplemental grant. Now, those are for services provided to the students who qualify. That's our unduplicated students, our English learners, low income, and foster youth. Then on top of that, we have what are called add-ons. This is the first year we've received a transitional kindergarten add-on. That was new this year. And it's just an added amount on for the number of students we have in TK to help support to help fund the lower class size requirements in TK. Then we also have a target instructional block grant and home to school transportation grant. Those two are still at the same level we received in funding back in 12-13. We've gotten no COLA on that. So hasn't been an increase on those two pieces since the beginning of the local control funding formula. That's why we say the whole thing does not get a COLA, because there are pieces of it that don't get a COLA to it. So that's a breakdown of our local control funding formula. So our expenditures related to our revenues, we have 76 million in our expenditures. 72.7 are dedicated to our employees' salaries and benefits. We also have 6.2 million towards those one-time expenditures and grants. So overall, we have a surplus in our unrestricted revenue in our first interim, a $2.4 million surplus between our revenue and expenditures and other financing sources. With a beginning fund balance of 15.4, that leaves us with an ending balance of 17.9. State law requires that our unassigned reserve be a max of 10%, and the board has approved to commit some funds so that we can have that unassigned reserve below the 10% max that is required by the state law. Multi-year projections. These are estimates based on what we know of reliable information at this time. They will change, guaranteed. They will not be what it's showing you today once we get to that year, because all those factors that are underlying the projections change. So when we talk about some of the assumptions that we use in our multi-year, as an example of that, Department of Finance issued these COLA projections. It was 5.38 for 23-24 and 4.02 for 24-25. Right now, their best estimate on that COLA is actually closer to 8%. But the final numbers for what it will be are not yet released, so we can only use what the Department of Finance has provided us to use. We also don't know what our attendance will be, which could have an impact on our 3-year rolling average. Current attendance doesn't finish getting calculated until April, so that will, of course, impact our multi-year projections. And then we'll have flat federal, other state, and local once all of the one-time funds have been removed. Certificated salaries have step increases as well as column increases, and we also assume $90,000 in attrition savings. Our classified employees get about a 1.5% step increase every year. And then we have CalSTRS and CalPERS that we are paying. As for CalPERS in particular, it may not be 25.37. More than likely, we'll be paying more. We have not yet gotten those rates. We know this because they have significantly lost revenue in their investments at the end in June of 2022. So we know that the rates will more than likely go up, but we have not received those rates yet on what to put in our multi-year, so we know that's going to change. And then also we have some COVID-funded positions, one-time funds for a couple positions that we know we're going to need to sustain longer than just our COVID funding. So those will hit our general fund in 24-25. So all of these factors are in this current multi-year projection. So in 22-23, we have a 2.4 million net surplus. Then in 23-24, 3.2, and then in 24-25, a 2.8. The reason it declines in 24-25 is because we are assuming some of those positions that I just mentioned. That's why that surplus kind of goes down that year, which leaves our ending fund balance in our unrestricted funds at 17.9, 21.2, and then 24. Again, we are not over the 10% max on our unassigned reserve. But as I mentioned, things will impact this projection. We've talked about our attendance, the statutory cost of living. Another thing that is coming is Prop 28. Voters approved the K-12 Art and Music Initiative. That will impact both our revenue as well as our expenditures towards that program. We also have not settled contract negotiations, as we heard from our partners today. We are still working on trying to get current year settled, so we have not yet settled for the current year, so that is not in our multi-year. We also know we have minimum wage staring us in the eyes. It's coming January, and then also full day implementation as well as the full TK implementation that will be coming within the next few years. So keeping our eyesights and our minds on those things that will change our multi-year from where it's currently at. All funds have a healthy ending fund balance. More details on each one of those funds, the purpose of those funds, and where that funding revenue and expenditures come from is in the report, and I highly recommend you read my outstanding report. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer that for you. Otherwise, next steps. In January, the governor will be releasing his proposed budget for 23-24. At the same time, we'll also have our 21-22 audit report. And then in March, we will have our second interim that will have those changes from the governor's proposal. And then the governor will update his proposal for the May revise in May. And at that point in time, Dr. Wagner and I will be presenting, we'll get Dr. Wagner on the LCAP and myself on the budget come May and June. So that was what will be coming here shortly. So, thank you. Any questions?
Do I have any questions from the board?
I'm gonna try not to throw you any zingers,
Okay,
but I do have a couple questions.
alrighty.
So go back to page 3, there was the bar graph. Are we assuming, because kind of the
On our attendance.
attendance, the 2021 school year, we have to make up for that? Are we still assuming we'll be somewhere between that 5,100 and 4,745?
We're looking at about 48 right now.
Okay,
But it doesn't end until April 15th, so it depends on how many kids get sick and have to be out of school between now and April 15th. But currently, we're about 48.
okay,
So we are better than last year.
cool. Well, I know we have a percentage that seems to be moving out of state as well, that's why I was wondering.
Well, that's what you see on the enrollment side too. So this enrollment is as of October, so you can see from pre-COVID to where, and even from just this last year, in the last couple of years, we're still seeing that decline in our enrollment. So it's not just a matter of, the kids showing up every day, but also them being enrolled in our school. And that count is in October. But our attendance is looking at about 4,800 or so, a little bit over that right now. I just don't have good enough numbers to use them.
And then on the next slide, the 12-13 award level, is there any talk of them possibly bumping that up? Because obviously we're looking, that was 10 years ago.
Well, that award level was actually, how do I phrase this? So home to school transportation was set back in 78, 79 for school districts. And then from there, it hasn't really changed, but the amount of funding for it. So basically what they said back in 78, oh, you run transportation, okay, we'll give you this amount. Some districts do still run transportation, some don't. Some are still getting it even though they don't run transportation. They held it during the recession, they just kind of put a hold on all of that. There is now going to be in 23-24 a COLA on that piece of it, so at least then we get a little bit based off of the COLA, so that will be coming in 23-24. But also what they did in this most recent budget, but no details have been further released, is they're promising to pay us 60% minus the amount that we are currently receiving as part of this. So our total expenditures, I don't know, say $1 million in transportation. And then they're gonna say, okay, $1 million minus the $400,000 we received, then they're gonna backfill 60% of that. But we'll always get it a year late because they have to finish out the year, figure out where their budget's at, and then pay it. So right now, that is something that is coming. We just don't know more because we just finalized our unaudited actuals and our actuals for last year. So it's not included in this. So there is funding, hopefully coming for that, but I haven't heard more.
Stabler's a little slower than everything else.
Sometimes they are hurry up and sometimes they are, we'll get to that. And that's one of those we'll get to, unfortunately.
And then on page 6, you have the multi-year projections. As far as the CalPERS goes, you were talking about, what would be the approximate date we might be able to receive? Do you have an idea?
I'm hoping in the
Order?
governor's, by then he'll have something in January, at least tentatively released for that. It may not. Usually, I think the actuarial studies, don't come in this, maybe around April is what I'm feeling, but I don't have concrete evidence for that. They have right now, in the state enacted budget, the Department of Finance released that it was gonna be actually lower than the currently, and I just held it there. It was gonna be slightly lower, but.
They had mentioned kind of something at the conference,
Yeah.
but okay,
But I don't,
you're good.
yeah, sorry.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I'm going to back up a little bit. Just when you said, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but there are districts that are getting transportation money and they do not provide any transportation?
So I have a CBO that works in Burton. I don't want to throw them out there, but anyways, their whole district's 2 miles radius. And so they, at the time in 78, they, 1978, they had schools that were further out, but, people fill in to their city. So as 2 mile radius, that's transportation limits. So they only transport special ed. They don't transfer general ed because they all live in pretty much walking distance of their schools. But they are still receiving the same transportation amount of allocation that they had received before we filled in as a community, before they did. So that's just an example of, but they do use those funds appropriately because we're using them for special ed transportation.
I thought there were some with nothing. I'm thinking, really?
Oh, we always have special education
No.
transportation.
Well, I mean, yeah, right, but I'm thinking that was
Never
kind of
enough.
strange. Right. Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
wait.
Go ahead.
No, I was curious, and I realize it's, probably premature because Prop 28 just passed, but do we have any idea what we would be looking at in terms of monies coming to our district for arts and music?
I would highly recommend that we add a specific agenda item to discuss that, Prop 28, if I would request of the board, because it also would require some conversations, related to that, and they have a lot of transparency requirements and financial requirements and what is the word that I'm looking for, restrictions on those funds. So I would recommend maybe a board presentation specifically on Prop 28 if you guys are willing.
So is it the kind of thing where in order to receive the money, we have to have a specific plan as to how we're going to utilize it? Is
No,
that-
it's actually going to be part of the LCAP.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it will be part of the LCAP as Dr. Wagner begins working on that. But we have preliminary numbers, and I don't have those off the top of my head, so I do not want to quote.
Okay.
And then they have a lot of restrictions and a lot of requirements, and it will also be part of all of our school sites plans, because it's on a site basis that it's being allocated, not district.
Oh, okay.
Because those funds can only be used for
Art and music.
improve the program we're already currently running. Yeah.
Like I said, I would highly recommend that we do a presentation to the board on all of the conditions as part of that Prop 28, so that I can make sure I speak correctly towards it.
What is the timing you're looking at for having that discussion?
It's at the board's discretion.
Okay. Any other questions? No. Thank you. Okay. So I need a motion to approve the first interim report, financial report.
A motion to approve?
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, perfect. Thank you.
We also need to make a motion to add the,
We'll do, so what we'll do is at the end, we'll ask any board members if you want to add something to it. And so I made a little note here, so we'll definitely be doing that. Okay, so I'll go over information. This is a little differently than we've done this in the past as far as going into closed session after. So if people do not want to stay, I'm going to go ahead and go through information, and then we'll do items for next agenda. Actually, I don't know how well, I guess we'll hop back and forth. So we'll do information, items for next agenda, then I'll excuse us into closed session and come back out. So I will let you do items for next agenda. I'm sorry, information, sorry.
Yes, thank you, President Cheswell. December, this last week is a very active time for our schools. We have the band and drumline concert, which is tomorrow. We have our elementary choir concerts on December 14th and December 15th. Finals will be for our junior high and high school and continuation school. Minimum day will be for all on Friday the 16th. Winter break, December 19th or the 2nd. We come back on Tuesday, January 3rd. And then we have Martin Luther King's birthday holiday on January 19th. And then a minimum day for staff. 16th, excuse me, January 16th is recognition of his birthday. And then a minimum day for staff development on January 19th.
Perfect. So on items for the next agenda, so right now we have a quarterly report on the Williams settlement complaints. We have authorized disposal of obsolete equipment or materials, OJUSD annual dashboard accountability update, and then I would like to add our mid-year superintendent evaluation, and then I'll add the presentation on Prop 28 as well. And then do I have any board members who'd like to add anything else? No. And then, okay. All right, so I think that's the items for the next agenda. So we're now going to move into our closed session. Do I have any, yes,
May I make a comment?
on?
Future agenda item?
I forgot. So do I need to ask the audience right now at this time to add things? I just want to make sure I'm doing it correctly.
Well, I mean, if there was a comment form on 14-0, somebody requesting one, then they would have filled something out.
Okay, so let's do this, since we're starting off new and next year's a new year. So, and now I'm clear on this. So if you would like to add something, let's do that. And then moving forward, I'll mention that as well at the beginning of our meetings, that if we're going to add something to the next agenda item, so go for it.
Thank you, Madam President. The conversation came up at a previous meeting, I believe a month ago, that had to do with the facilities spreadsheet. And I believe the conversation was that there would be a quarterly update by the superintendent, which would put the next update next month, per my recollection. So if that could be something added to the agenda.
Yes.
That was already vetted. We decided not to do that.
Well, actually, yes, so let me just, I'm going to make a note here. So basically, what I'm thinking we're going to be doing going forward, and I don't want to misspeak, but we did discuss that. I think that might have been, because I missed last meeting, might have been a couple meetings ago. I believe what we decided, or my memory's not great, to do updates on, instead of going through this whole long thing again, is just give an update on what's been done, what's new, what's coming up. So I think that's how we're going to.
That's correct, yeah.
Do that? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate that. So I'm glad, but now we're kind of getting this all worked out. So I will do that at the beginning of the next meetings also, is ask if anybody thinks they might want to add anything. So do I have any public comment on closed session? Okay, hearing none. So we're going to go into closed session right now. And then